All right, everybody, thanks for joining us today. It's April 28th, and this is a second of two-part series in lead generation, specifically focused on time management. A couple of resources that we're going to touch on today: the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. You should have a copy of that. We're going to look at the latest section in page 289, 290. Also in Shift Tactic number 4 around lead generation, page 75. We're going to look at an example of a time block schedule there. So picking up an MREA, Gary's talking about several different things that we need to be successful in this business, including creating a personal plan and making process your focus. And that's why time management and time blocking, we do that in order to get focused. And again, it's a reminder of just staying on what's most important to us, that top 20%, the most important activities that we need to do that's going to produce all the results, 80% of the results for our business. Your schedule, your time block also drives accountability. We'll touch on that a little bit. It helps to have an accountability partner. But even just, for every solo agent out there, having a schedule, following a schedule, staying on that schedule is going to get you to the results that you're looking for. Environment, not to overlook that as well. God bless you.
Sorry.
God bless you. Your environment has to support your schedule, right? Like it's great to have a time block schedule, but if your environment doesn't support it, if you're getting interrupted, getting distracted, again, being taken off course, that's going to be a problem. And just a last piece here on keeping your energy to maintain focus. We'll touch on that as well. That came up personally for me during COVID. That was a big part of that experience for me. So keeping my energy up. This is probably one of the most highlighted sections in MREA that I found myself personally. If you take a look at those pages, again, 289 through 312, we know that in the end, the most distinguishing characteristics of all the top performers is their high achievers and top performers is their ability to maintain focus over a long period of time. We're all capable of that focus, but it takes time, personal discipline to cultivate and to create that new habit, right? We talk about 66 days to start a new habit. So to actually make that part of the way we do things going forward. So just a couple of things to touch on there. There's an example from Shift, and just to jump in, because this is lead generation, right? Here's an example of a time block schedule. This is figure 15 on page 75 in the Shift book. And, real quickly, obviously, they talk a lot about planning your year ahead. We talked about that last week. Taking time to plan all of your vacation, holidays, anniversaries, events. Take a 1 year look ahead on all that and get all those dates set up. Put them onto your calendar first. Put that family time, those date nights, the kids events, parents. Put all that on your calendar first. And then the next thing you really got to do is look at your business. The top 20% is going to be lead generation. And they talk about lead generating for 3 hours a day. So you see it right here. Every day, almost from 8:30 to 11:30 is lead generation. Now, you don't have to do it exactly between 8:30 and 11:30. When is the right time for you depends on the rest of your schedule. So if you're a dual career, if you're homeschooling kids, you're going to have to find that time to fit that in. It could be in the mornings, it could be in the evenings, it could be early afternoon. But again, making time on your schedule for that is really the goal here. And again, they're doing it 4 days a week. We also take time to plan out. Here in this example, planning on Sundays, planning ahead of time for what the week's going to look like ahead. There's more to lead generation than just those two words. There's really 3 parts to it. There's preparation that needs to be done. There's the actual action itself of it. And then there's the maintenance and follow-up that comes after that. But this is a good example of what a schedule would look like. A month at a glance calendar, again, combines the benefits of a long-range vision with a day-to-day and hourly planning. I actually use both. I still have a planner. I use the Bold Planner, which I shared last week. And I also use Google. So for all of my electronic scheduling, all of my appointments, they have to go somewhere. They have to go to an electronic calendar somewhere that I can use to coordinate those things. So a long time ago, several years now, about 4 years ago, I started to build my own electronic calendar. And these are the things that I should be doing. So the time I have to get up in the morning, the time to get to work, planning, calendaring, again, scripts, role play, lead generation, and then making time for lead follow-up. So from that, after lead generation, 11:30 to 12 thereabouts, lead follow-up. And then in the afternoon, it's time for appointments. I go on to, further include things like, the drive and gym time in an evening routine. And then making time on the weekends, during the day, during the week, to do different things. I actually, over time, I got a little bit even more descriptive on it. So on different days of the week, I lead generate different ways, or for different purposes or different things. So I'm still making my time to lead generate, but I find over the past couple of years, there's an optimization to it, right? There's people I call on Monday. There's people I call on Tuesday. There's people I call on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday as well. I still do calls on Friday. I like to sort of set the stage for the following week. Friday morning's a great time to catch people. They're excited for the weekend. They're glad the week's over. They're looking forward to whatever they got coming up. And I can start really getting a head start on my calendar for next week. I can start setting appointments now. And so when I come in Monday, I already know I have a certain number of things planned out. So, that's what I like to do. Also, education and learning should be a part of your calendar. Again, whatever's on your GPS, your 411, whatever's on your business plan, if it's not in your calendar, when are you doing it? So whatever's in your business plan, whatever you're working on to better your business, to work on your business, or to work on you, you have to make time on the calendar to do those things. Lori, any thoughts so far?
Yeah, a couple of things. So I just want to, you talk about, I saw in there family vacation as one of the things in there. And so I hope that, there are other training forums, get your bold calendar scheduled, get your family reunion calendar, get your, mastermind dates in there. KW International is pretty good about publishing and, forward thinking of those dates. And you want to get those dates in there too, because everything should be time blocked. It's your, your personal time, your education time, your lead generation time, your script practice time. And of course, those ad hoc appointments for your listing appointments, your open houses, and things like that, but don't forget about, training. It's, when we talk about the whole, master list of things, of skill sets to master, personal time, etc., make sure that it's a comprehensive time blocking approach to this. And a lot of times I put things in pencil because it changes.
Absolutely.
And I think we should talk about that when, when your calendar changes, because if you're going to bump lead generation, you got to bump something else to put lead generation back in. So it's those types of trade-offs that you have to look at. If you have a listing appointment, that's great, but make sure and if it's during a lead generation time, not ideal, but things do come up and do happen, but just make sure that you go back and just say, hey, I missed my 2 hours. Where can I now put it in?
Yeah,
Right.
I was going to ask how you prioritize things like that. So if you have, let's just say, kids and one of them gets sick, like now your whole day is kind of jockeyed, right? So what does that look like for somebody, if, they're missing like a 4 or 5 hour gap because they're taking care of a sick child or whatever? What does that look like?
That's a great question, Wendy. Great question. And start with a pencil so you can erase and shuffle.
Yeah.
And those priorities become the next day's priorities, and now you have to shuffle again. That it just, but within the context of priorities are priorities.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen, and you just within the context of priorities are priorities. And so what would be the number one thing, and that goes back to the one thing. With Jay Papasan's book. So.
Yes, another great reference. The one thing, obviously, we touched on that a little bit last week, and the slides that we had last week touched on that. All great references and resources on Keller Inc., The One Thing, MREA, and Shift. I'll tell you the one thing about the calendar, that it just reminds me of what's most important. Again, starting with family time, right? So even when things come up and I get interrupted, it's a good reminder. It's just the guardrails to get me back on track, to keep me on the road, to remind me of what's the most important activities that are really going to make the biggest difference in my business. It helps me to differentiate between, what's income producing activities versus income servicing activities. So yeah, it's a great reminder, a great point. These things are going to come up. We are going to get interrupted. The point is to get back on track as quickly as possible and to make up for that time, if possible. Any other thoughts? Amita, thanks for joining us. Nicole, if you had anything to share, feel free. Wanted to share this chart out of MREA. It's the Millionaire Real Estate Agent Energy Plan. And while we're following a schedule and we're doing all those things, if you don't take care of yourself, you can burn out.
That's a good point.
You can have the best schedule. And I had this time block schedule, before COVID. And even during COVID, when we went remote for 3 months and worked from home, my schedule didn't change. I was still doing those activities. Now, the circumstances were different. And, reflecting on this, I realized I wasn't doing all these things. So, or maybe not in the order or in the sequence or in the timing that was going to, benefit me the most. So now in my morning routine, you saw it on my calendar, morning routine, what does that really mean? So I make sure to do the first 3 things before I start business each day. So I'm going to take time to, meditate and pray. I'm going to exercise and eat, although maybe to a lesser extent in the morning. I really actually prefer to work out, in the afternoon and the evenings. Also for different, dietary reasons, I might, be fasting or doing something else. So I may not eat in the morning. I might be eating later for lunch and dinner. Hug, kiss, and laugh, that emotional energy. I never leave the house without saying goodbye or kissing my wife goodbye. So I kind of realized I wasn't doing all that, and it was really having an effect on me. So I started implementing those things, and I kind of reorganized my morning. Planning and calendaring is the first thing I do for my business. I've already had planned the week ahead of time, but I'm going to come in each morning and check to see what I'm doing, to see what changed, right? Because my schedule may have changed overnight. So I got to re-baseline myself in the morning with planning and calendaring. So it really starts there for me with business. And then, lead generation. That's the 3 hours of dedicated time focused on your top 20%. And all of that by, 11 a.m. every day. So, what's interesting is I realized that in order to get my morning right, to get this done by 11 o'clock, I had to back calculate what time I had to wake up and the time it took me to do all those things. And then it told me what time I had to go to bed the night before. So to have the best morning, the best day really starts the night before. And I think that's something else to just consider.
It's true. And if anyone has read or had read Stephen Covey and used a Franklin planner way back in the day, he always says start with the end in mind. And he talks about, before you go to bed, you should review tomorrow's schedule, because that's on your mind when you wake up, as far as, where you need to be. You've gotten it all organized and you're ready to go with a fresh start in the morning. So good point, Frank.
Yeah, I'll definitely check the calendar before I end work the previous business day, just to make sure in case something came up earlier the next day that I wasn't aware of, or something that's going to maybe where I do have to make a schedule adjustment. Maybe I need to be somewhere different that day or something else. But anyway, just, paying attention and looking ahead and planning ahead is an important part of that. So with that, I think we've at least shared and addressed all the major components of time management. Again, it's not something that happens overnight. My calendar, that's 4 years in the making. I've actually learned from other people. I've taken bits and bobs of other people's calendars, other people, other agents, other leadership members, and looked to see where they were having some success and what they were doing differently and what I could implement into my calendar. So, again, don't be afraid to share and learn from others. Tap into those resources on Keller Inc., The One Thing. Jay Papazan, again, on KW Connect, has been doing a lot of videos and things on life. And if you go to any of the major conventions, Family Reunion, Mega Camp, and Masterminds, you're always going to find an element of this subject in those learning opportunities. So,
Frank, another reference is
sure.
Hal Elrod, The Miracle Morning.
Oh,
If anybody is lacking in a morning routine and what that might look like, that might be another. He's a very popular read as far as, you know, motivation and preparing your mindset and your body for the day ahead as far as a schedule. So if you have an interest in what would a morning routine look like, that certainly is a resource.
right. And what's the other one? The 12-week year?
So as far as scheduling and planning out, the other one is the 12-week year, yes. And what it is, the philosophy behind that is that it's not about a year project, but dividing it up into 4 incremental success points. So you have the first 12 weeks and you map out all the action steps and plans and goals and objectives to be accomplished in those 12 weeks. With a 13-week, the 13th week is included in that as a makeup point, or it's a vacation week, however it is that you've planned out that time.
Right.
And then you measure what you've accomplished there and move it into, you know, how you need to plan and grow in the second 12-week session, and so on. And it's a shift in the mindset that if you carve up your tasks and your goals and objectives into 12-week units, there is a lot more focus and a lot more accomplishment with that mindset. So that's another reference. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good reminders on those. I've read and familiar with both of them. They've all influenced you know, my schedule, my time management, certainly. Thanks for joining us today. Anybody have any other questions, comments, remarks? Nicole? Amita?
Hi, this is Amita. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. So my struggle has been, again, the lead generation, right? So I had taken some time off and now I'm back and I'm trying to time block my schedule. But a lot of people and a lot of agents that I have spoken to, they're moving away from the traditional picking up the phone and speaking and calling the neighborhood, calling your farm, calling past clients. And they're moving to a more, you know, modern day approach in terms of social media. So I just wanted to understand in terms of lead generation on social media, what are some of those tips? What are some of those activities that we should be doing? Obviously, you know, running Facebook ads and getting leads from there. I mean, I spent thousands of dollars trying to do that and nothing has amounted to it. And again, it's about filling that pipeline, but you know, you do come across people that are just simply not interested in, you know, speaking with you or joining your campaigns. And now I just feel like I'm completely lost. You know, my business is down and I need to, you know, muster up myself in terms of how do I get back my strength into the real estate market.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. Frank, do you want to take it or you want me to take it?
Well, you know, to me, the first thing that comes to my mind is the last thing you mentioned, which is your energy. And that's, you know, that I know I've experienced that as well. And that's why I turned to the energy plan. Somebody reminded, it's in the back of MREA, and I went back to it. And, you know, I would just, you know, ask, you know, just challenge you to, like, are you making time for those things, you know, to take care of yourself each day, you know, and when and where does that, you know, land on your schedule? I think beyond that, you know, lead generation, again, is not just, you know, phone calls. There's a multitude of things you can do around, you know, prospecting and marketing. Now, there's, again, 3 parts to lead generation. So you mentioned social media, obviously the time, the preparation to create the content, to create the post, to do those things, and the actual action of posting and scheduling it. Now, the maintenance comes when, you know, you have leads coming in off of those ads, and then you've got to get them into your database and then put them on a smart plan and follow up. Social media, you know, is one form, but the same approach could be with others. So, whether you are prospecting your database, whether you're working on advertisements or other promotional materials, those are all lead generation activities. So it's not just about the cold calls. Go ahead, Lori. What do you think?
Well, I just would like to just, enhance on what you're saying. And that is, first of all, when we talk about time blocking is the act of setting aside that time for lead generation, whatever those lead generation activities may be that work for you. The first thing I would ask, Amita, is that you said your business slowed down. What are the top 3 channels where you have leads that ultimately lead to appointments and to actual transactions? Is it personal references? Is it Facebook paid ads? Is it open houses? So I'm going to put it back to you. What are your top 3 channels for leads?
So currently, if I look at my stream of income, the past, clients that I've had, it's been referrals, it's been cold calling, and it's been open houses. But now that the market is, hot, there's not enough time to even do an open house, right? So within hours, the houses are taken off the market. So here I am looking at Facebook, Instagram, social media, mailers I'm doing, farming my farm. I'm creating, yearly garage sales now that COVID is opening back up. So trying to get myself back into those things, and I'm doing all of those things, but nothing seems to be, coming to fruition.
I can share your frustration and, a little bit of deflated motivation. We all go through it. So please know that you're not alone. But we also know that when you put the effort in, the rewards come, and sometimes they're just not immediate. So first thing I would just like to say about open houses is that if you do not have a listing and you're trying to volunteer for open houses, every week, put your name on our, calendar for the office to say, I'm available for open houses. Tap into these top producers who have many listings. They can't do all the open houses themselves. So make sure you send them an email to say, I'm available for an open house. On a personal note, develop that relationship because you get those leads. I just did one with, and Frank can attest to this. There was an agent who came down from Montclair who needed some help in the Princeton area. And I jumped in and said, I want to do your open houses. So that was sort of my reward. And I know it sounds a little bit but I was able to make connections, with the neighborhood. My signs were out there and people met me one-on-one, and I handed out my business cards. So when I look at my lead generation task list, how many business cards did I hand out, which was included in my goal for the week? And that lead generation time of 4 hours is part of 4 hours worth of lead generation time. And I know that, the second hand or residual is someone driving by and seeing my open house sign. So, don't negate the open houses. It's an opportunity for a face-to-face. Those garage sales are an opportunity of face-to-face. If you are still calling, make those calls. If they were successful to you, make those calls. Emailing your past clients just to check in with them, that's a connection, that's a nurture, that's getting ready. That's just reminding them you're an agent, and you have to keep reminding them, even though you sold them a house, because, hey, who do you know that is interested in buying or selling, or investing in real estate today?
Yeah.
The Facebook paid ads, if they're not working for you, then maybe it's an avenue you don't pursue right now. Because when you do those paid Facebook ads, you have to follow up with all those leads. And they get put on drip campaigns and everything else until they unsubscribe because they were like, I don't know why I clicked on this, which is part of the weeding out process.
Yeah.
I go ahead, Frank.
Well, I just, Amita, the struggle's real, and
Yeah.
you're not the only one. So thank you for asking that question and bringing that up. A great new resource that I've been sharing recently, something that the company put out was an agent toolkit, and I'll send you a copy of this afterwards. It's for solo agents and it's productivity tools, but it's a great lead generation exercise to take yourself through. Again, like Lori said, where do your leads, your opportunities really come from? And then, going through that, looking at lead sources, other leads, and just keeping track of that, prioritizing your efforts. This is about 23 pages. It goes through, and it's a good reminder of different ways to stay in touch with people, to create those bonds with people, so that when they do have an opportunity. I got a phone call today from a coworker I haven't talked to since 3 years. And when he had a real estate and he has a need for real estate assistance, and I was the first person to call him because he's been on a neighborhood nurture before I spoke to him last, probably for 4 years now, or as long as neighborhood nurture has been available. I've had his family properties on a neighborhood nurture, and he called me today for the first time, and it was great catching up with him, all because I left him on that neighborhood nurture for the last 3 years. So take a time to go through this. There's a lot of great reminders in here, some things if you haven't done or you did that maybe you need to revisit or freshen up. Maybe there's some additional training or something we can do in here to help you with that. Don't underestimate the power of command. There was an agent, one of our ALC members took a listing the other day for the very same reason. Had kept in touch for over 3 years with the client, strictly through automation. And when they were ready to sell, they picked that phone up and called that agent first. And the reason was because they said, you were the most consistent or persistent, in following up and keeping in touch with me. And again, it was a Facebook lead that was captured, put into these automation plans, and continued to deliver value to that person about the property and the information until they were ready to buy or sell. So I'll share this with you. A lot of great stuff. Yes, the open houses are a little bit different now, but be ready because they're coming back. Great opportunities there. So thanks so much, Amita, go ahead, Lori.
I just want to, the open houses shouldn't be different, and you need to be strategic in your listing. So Amita, this might just be, a moment, a mastermind moment for you, but here's what I do for my listings. I include an open house. I need to lead generate off that listing. You just don't throw away a listing because in a hot market, it goes off the market in a day. Don't waste that time. Get it listed, do it strategically where, you know what, I'll list it on a Thursday, but we are going to do a Sunday open house because I want to get the most people in your house during, this tentative COVID. People still have their tentative COVID opinions. So you get them in the house and then you get your offers, but you still have that open house. You're not winning in real estate if you think I have metrics where I closed it in a day. It's just, you need to lead generate. You've wasted an opportunity to lead generate. And that's just my personal thinking.
Yeah. Well, the listings are still the #1 source of leads, period.
Right.
Wherever that house is advertised, it has your name attached to it. It's advertising you.
Right. Well, thank you so much for all of your feedback and motivation. And, this session has definitely helped.
Oh, good.
Great.
Amita, keep going. Keep going.
I will. Thank you.
Keep going.
Yep. Think big, aim high, and never give up.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, guys.
All right. I'll send you that information. Thanks, Amita.
Okay. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Nicole. Thanks for being here.
Of course. Thank you for the session. It was really helpful.
And that's a wrap, Frank.
Okay.
See you next time with Life is Good with Lead Generation.
Awesome. Thank you, Lori. Thanks, Nicole.
All right. Thanks.